BenCohen, the ice cream guru who brought us Cherry Garcia and Chunky Monkey, found himself in a rather unappetizing situation on Wednesday. The BenAndJerrys co-founder was arrested at a Senate hearing. This wasn't about a rogue sprinkle shortage or a hostile takeover involving cookie dough. This was about something far more serious. Cohen was there to protest U.S. foreign policy, and he wasn't about to let a little thing like a Senate hearing stand in his way. Cohen, along with 6 other protesters, chose a rather high-profile stage for their demonstration, a Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee hearing. The star witness that day? None other than Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a man not unfamiliar with controversy himself. But the protesters weren't there to debate vaccine efficacy or the merits of organic kale. They were there to shine a light on the human cost of the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The scene was chaotic, to say the least. Protesters stood, interrupting the proceedings with chants and accusations. Signs were brandished, their messages stark reminders of the human toll of war and poverty. "RFK kills people with AIDS," one protester shouted, highlighting Kennedy's controversial views on vaccines. Cohen's own message was a double scoop of condemnation, targeting both U.S. foreign policy and domestic spending priorities. Cohen's accusations were pointed and direct. He didn't mince words. He accused Congress of having blood on their hands, alleging their complicity in the deaths of children in Gaza. His reasoning? The U.S. government's continued financial support for the war, a policy he argued came at the expense of vulnerable Americans. "They're paying for it by kicking poor kids off Medicaid in the U.S., Cohen declared, drawing a direct link between foreign intervention and domestic hardship. It was a bold statement, one designed to shock and appall, and it certainly had the desired effect. As Cohen and the other protesters were led away by police, their voices still echoed in the chamber. Outside the Senate building, supporters continued to rally, their signs demanding change and justice. For BenCohen, this was just another chapter in his long history of activism, a journey that has taken him from ice cream mogul to outspoken advocate for social justice. His actions serve as a reminder that sometimes even the sweetest things in life come with a side of serious responsibility. As the media buzzes with headlines about his arrest, Cohen's message remains clear. The fight for justice is far from over, and for those who stand with him, the journey continues, one scoop at a time. The normally staid halls of Congress were transformed into a scene of unexpected drama as Cohen and his fellow protesters disrupted the Senate hearing. The atmosphere was electric, charged with a palpable sense of urgency and defiance. Their actions, while undoubtedly disruptive, were also undeniably attention-grabbing. The protesters held signs and chanted slogans, their voices merging into a powerful chorus of dissent. This wasn't a quiet, polite dissent. It was a loud, unyielding demand for change, a stark contrast to the usual decorum of the Senate. This was a full-throated, in-your-face challenge to the status quo. The protesters were not there to ask for permission. They were there to demand justice. Cohen, never one to shy away from speaking his mind, didn't hold back. His words were sharp, his tone unwavering. His voice, normally associated with whimsical ice cream flavors and quirky marketing campaigns, took on a new sense of urgency and outrage. It was clear that this was a cause he felt deeply passionate about. He accused the U.S. government of being an enabler of genocide, a bold and provocative statement that left many in the chamber stunned. His words echoed through the chamber, a stark contrast to the usual political jargon. The gravity of his accusations hung in the air, demanding attention. "America no longer stands for fairness, justice, equality, and human rights," Cohen proclaimed, his voice filled with conviction and sorrow. His words were a stinging indictment of U.S. foreign policy, a call to action for those who felt similarly disillusioned. He wasn't just criticizing a particular policy or administration. He was challenging the very foundation of American values. He was questioning the very soul of the nation, asking whether it still stood for the principles it was founded upon. Challenging the values it claimed to uphold, Cohen's message resonated with many, particularly those outraged by the ongoing conflict in Gaza and the staggering human cost. His willingness to risk arrest to amplify their voices struck a chord, showing his commitment to the cause. His actions turned him into an unlikely hero for some, a symbol of resistance and courage. But his actions also drew criticism, with some viewing his methods as too extreme. Some accused him of grandstanding and disrespecting the institution of Congress, arguing that there are more appropriate ways to voice dissent. Despite the mixed reactions, Cohen's outburst and accusations have undeniably sparked a conversation. forcing many to confront uncomfortable truths about the nation's policies and values. Cohen's act of defiance, while undoubtedly driven by conscience, came with a price. The long arm of the law, even in the pursuit of justice, has a way of clamping down on dissent. The charges against Cohen and his fellow protesters were swift and predictable: crowding, obstructing, and incommoding, a trifecta of misdemeanors designed to discourage future disruptions. Some protesters faced additional charges, their defiance escalating beyond mere disruption. Resisting arrest, a charge often levied against those who dare to question authority, was added to the mix. And in the heat of the moment, as tensions flared and frustrations boiled over, one protester allegedly crossed the line, resulting in an assault charge against a police officer. The message from the authorities was clear: protesting inside the hallowed halls of Congress, no matter how righteous the cause, would not be tolerated. The right to assemble, to petition the government for a redress of grievances, seemed to stop at the Capitol steps. Cohen, like countless activists before him, was learning that freedom of speech, while enshrined in the Constitution, often comes with a hefty price tag. Section 4. Scoops of Activism. BenAndJerrys' History of Speaking Out. Cohen's outburst at the Senate hearing was not an isolated incident, a sudden surge of activism from a man known more for ice cream than ideology. It was, in many ways, a continuation of a lifelong commitment to social justice, a flavor that has always been a key ingredient in the BenAndJerrys brand. From their early days scooping cones in a renovated gas station in Vermont, BenCohen and Jerry Greenfield infused their business with a social conscience. They used their growing platform to advocate for a smorgasbord of progressive causes, from environmental protection to LGBTQ+ rights. They weren't afraid to take on powerful interests, challenging corporate greed and government policies they saw as unjust. Their ice cream flavors became vehicles for social commentary, each scoop a delicious spoonful of activism. Save Our Swirled, Fossil Fuel, and Justice Remixed. The names themselves were a call to action, urging customers to think beyond the cone and engage with the issues of the day. They turned their company into a force for good, proving that capitalism and conscience weren't mutually exclusive. Section 5. Frozen Out. The Gaza Controversy and BenAndJerrys' Stance. The ongoing conflict in Gaza, a complex and deeply polarizing issue, has drawn international condemnation and sparked heated debates about human rights, international law, and the role of the United States in the region. The situation in Gaza is not just a political issue, but a humanitarian crisis that affects millions of lives. The images of destroyed buildings, the cries of protesters, and the daily struggles of the people living there paint a grim picture of the reality on the ground. BenAndJerrys, never a company to shy away from controversy, waded into this contentious debate, their stance drawing both praise and condemnation. Known for their progressive values and willingness to take a stand on social issues, the company has a history of activism that aligns with their brand identity. This time, however, their decision would place them at the center of a geopolitical storm. In 2021, the company made a bold move, one that sent shockwaves through the business world and ignited a firestorm of controversy. The announcement was not just another corporate statement. It was a declaration that resonated far beyond the ice cream aisles. It was a move that would test the limits of corporate activism and challenge the status quo. They announced their decision to stop selling ice cream in the occupied Palestinian territories, citing their commitment to social justice and their opposition to the Israeli government's policies towards Palestinians. This decision was rooted in their belief that businesses have a responsibility to stand up for what is right, even if it means taking a hit to their bottom line. This decision, while lauded by human rights groups and supporters of Palestinian self-determination, was met with fierce backlash from pro-Israel groups and some members of the Jewish community. The reactions were swift and intense, with many accusing the company of taking sides in a conflict that has deep historical and emotional roots. They accused the company of anti-Semitism, of singling out Israel for criticism while ignoring human rights abuses in other parts of the world. The debate quickly escalated, with both sides digging in their heels and the media amplifying the controversy. The accusations of anti-Semitism were particularly damaging, as they struck at the core of the company's values and public image. Boycotts were called for, and accusations of hypocrisy were flung like sprinkles in a food fight. The public discourse became a battleground, with social media platforms serving as the front lines. Supporters and detractors of BenAndJerrys took to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to voice their opinions, turning the issue into a global conversation. The company's decision to halt sales in the occupied territories was not a knee-jerk reaction, a publicity stunt designed to boost sales. It was a carefully considered move, the result of extensive internal discussions and consultations with various stakeholders. The leadership team weighed the potential risks and benefits, knowing full well that their decision would have far-reaching implications. It was the culmination of years of internal debate and soul-searching, a reflection of their deeply held values and their belief in the power of business to affect social change. BenAndJerrys has always seen itself as more than just an ice cream company. They view themselves as a force for good in the world. This decision was a testament to their commitment to that vision, even in the face of overwhelming opposition.